This is the I Read Comic Books podcast, and I am your host this week, Kara Szymborski, joined by two survivalists newly emerged from their subterranean bunkers. Hello, Nick White.
I don't care what it takes. I'm not reading Crossed.
Hello, Zach McCrary.
I agree with him. I am not reading Crossed.
I am fortunate to know nothing about Crossed, except that it is a book that is quite gory. So that is quite the start to our show. For those of you joining us today for our fabulous podcast about comic books, we talk about the books that we read, that we love, that we hope that you might love too. And today we are doing a sort of topic episode. We have a theme for this show, and Zach came up with a suggestion for the theme. So I'm going to ask Mike's legally mandated question: how are you? How have comic books been? And what are we talking about today, Zach?
I've been great. Comic books are always great, and today we are discussing post-apocalyptic comic books. And we were discussing what we should do for the episode, and that just popped into my head. And I think the reason that it did was I just love post-apocalyptic stuff for multiple reasons. Because sometimes you just get really fun, quirky environments, and you get to see like these different ideas of what creators see as the possible fate of the world, basically. And sometimes you get really interesting looks at like the human psyche and just how we are in this world and what could possibly happen because of the things that we do. And so that's why I love post-apocalyptic stuff, because, you know, you could either get something fun and crazy or you get something kind of thought-provoking, and it really depends. And I like both sides of that coin personally.
Deep thoughts for a dark winter, Zach.
Oh man, that's my new album title. That's my next album title right there. That's a black metal album title if I ever heard one. Gonna sing about goblins and stuff. Anyway, yeah, so that's why I love post-apocalyptic stuff. It's always interesting to me. And like novels, comics, movies, you give me all of it. Give me all of it. So before I say the specific book that I chose here, I almost picked another one. So I wanted to give a brief honorary mention to East of West from Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragotta. Probably my favorite comic of all time.
Oh,
Thought
really?
about using it here. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thought about using it here.
Can you give me a short pitch for that? Because I know about that book.
Is that possible?
Because all I know about East of West is that it was part of this like Image being so good like 10 years ago, and it was a Western.
Okay.
And that's all I know about it.
I'm going to try and do this as succinctly as possible. So we are in a post-apocalyptic world where a comet hit in America like during the Civil War period, and basically this happening changed everything about the way American history happened. Also involved in that, possibly on the comet, were the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
They're real.
And there was an attempt at them doing their thing, and it didn't work out. 3 of them got destroyed, I think, and only Death survived and roamed the Badlands, basically, and had a whole thing. Okay. But the whole story is kind of Game of Thronesy, because you've got these different sects. Like America is now broken up into different countries. Like in the north, like in central, like in the center of America and like the north, like the Dakotas and stuff, is where all of the native people went, and they are like the technological country. Like they are Wakanda in America. Like they are beyond everyone. They sell technology to all of these other countries. The Confederacy still exists. It's still a power. The Union exists. The Chinese have taken over, like the Maoist regime takes over like California and stuff, and all of these, and they all have rulers, and they are all involved in like a coming apocalypse, and they're all tied to the Four Horsemen, and the 3 horsemen return, and they're like, well, we gotta find Death, and then we gotta do our job here. And
is Death just like vibing at this point?
He is like Clint Eastwood.
He's stylistically, he's such a cool fucking, like, cool looking character. It's so good.
Such a cool
character designs are amazing. I mean, it's Nick Dragata, right? Like, it's
exactly.
God.
But yeah, like, I can't really, like, it's hard to explain this book because sometimes you would read an issue and you'd be like, that was amazing. I have no fucking idea what just happened, and you have to reread it. But it's so well written. It's so beautiful, and it all does tie together in the end. And it is a book that is best read all together instead of in issues, in my opinion. Nick, how do you feel?
So you
God
just,
help
like,
you
let
if
it
you
unfold.
tried to read that in issues. Good God.
I did, and it was confusing.
Oh,
like,
okay.
But it's very good. It's very good. I suggest it. I suggest checking it out. But
thank you.
My actual book, now that I've stolen a lot more time on the show, is The Last American from Epic Comics, which was an imprint of Marvel back in 1991. This is a 4-issue miniseries. I actually read a collected edition that was put out by 2000 AD back in 2017. This is written by John Wagner and Alan Grant, art by Mick McMahon, letters by Phil Felix. If you don't know these guys, they're a big deal in the British comics scene, especially for 2000 AD. I'm sure that Paul is like salivating at the sound of it. And even more so, they're known for Judge Dredd, like pretty much all these guys. John Wagner actually co-created the character. So it's kind of, his bag. Okay. So this comic follows an American soldier named Ulysses S. Pilgrim as he's thawed from cryogenic slumber after 20 years post-global nuclear apocalypse. As the final act of the President of the United States, Pilgrim is given full power and authority in this new world as the last remnant of the United States government. His job is to travel the country and find any survivors so as to bring everyone together and begin rebuilding the United States from the ground up. And he's joined by 3 robots who I love, Abel, Baker, and Charlie, who act for us as a bit of levity and act for Pilgrim as like the threads that keep him from losing his mind in the vast wasteland of what were once the American dream. If you like the British style and sensibility, then you're going to like what Mick McMahon does here. But I've got to warn you, this is bleak. This comic is bleak.
Oh.
Might assume.
Post-apocalyptic,
bleak,
so
but not edgelord, which is thank God.
Yes.
Okay.
Completely agree. And as one might assume, 20 years after full nuclear annihilation, there's not much left. So, and McMahon actually studied Nagasaki and Hiroshima, like photographs and stuff in preparation for the book. So the visuals are dark, dark, dark. Other than the somehow chubby, cute robots.
Well, you got to have your comic relief in there. That's what Star Wars taught us.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw a cheerful cursing droid in there, and you've got movie magic.
Exactly. So the writing, it's also kind of somber, other than occasional moments of black comedy. Imagine waking to find the world destroyed, and you're the one charged with finding survivors and starting again. And you can't find another living soul anywhere except for some mounds of ants. That's what Pilgrim is faced with, and the book shows his descent into hopelessness and being on the verge of madness, and then a noise comes over the radio, and I won't spoil what happens from there, but I really enjoyed the book. Not every comic fan, not every comic is going to leave you happy and excited, of course, but this team did an amazing job of putting together a character study of a person who is the last American in a broken, desolate country, and, we get to see how he might cope or not cope, for that matter. And if you're into like the British comic style 2000 AD stuff, if you're a fan, then I think it's worth checking out. The funny thing is that this obscure ass 1991 Epic Comics comic somehow Nick and I both chose for this episode.
Somehow.
Nick, how are you? How have comic books been? Tell us.
I can tell you how they were until an hour ago. I could definitely answer that question with a great. They've been great. Yeah, I mean, I gotta ask Zach, like, how did you land on this? Because I found it on a listicle, like a random listicle. I Googled post-apocalyptic comics. I read a couple listicles. This came up, and only on one. I never saw it again.
It was a book that I was aware of. But
okay.
It's one of those ones that's like far in the reaches of the back of your brain.
Sure.
And like I was saying, I didn't want to do East of West because I talk about that comic too much.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to find something different, like something new for me that I haven't read before. And on a list, I saw that and I was like, oh, I've been meaning to read that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
No, there's no way anyone else is going to pick this book. I'm going to read this one.
I think we both had the exact same instinct, and then effectively we both screwed each other over. It's beautiful.
Twin magic, man.
Yeah.
Nick, what did you think about it?
Well, you know, in the same vein as Zach, since we have the same book, I will briefly throw out another book that I talk about too much and briefly say, hey, if you haven't read Lazarus, and I know some people say, Lazarus, like, not everything is burned all the way down to the ground. Like, not everybody is hyper irradiated. Like, technology seems to be going pretty okay. Is Lazarus post-apocalyptic? Yeah, it pretty much is, guys. Like, it's just not like, you know, nuclear fallout.
Nick, was this another image from 10 years ago?
Oh, 100%. I mean, This was a image book that started, I think it like 12 or 13 years ago, and it's still going, believe it or not. So
still going. Okay,
going.
What is your 1 to 3 sentence summary of Lazarus? Because I've never read it.
Oh gosh, I don't even.
You can do it, Nick.
I guess the summary would be in the future. Corporations are basically taken over by families, and more or less, like, the whole world is now essentially run by these massive, huge, large mega corporations / government / families, and each family has a representative.
Nick, we have that now.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. I mean, look, Greg Rucka is suffering. Like, if you read the back matter notes of every issue of Lazarus, he's like, guys, like, my mental health is so goddamn fucked. I hate where we are right now. I hate it. Like, he's had to take breaks from Lazarus because it's like ruined his mental health to be thinking about this for work and in his free time. So shout out to Greg. We appreciate what you're doing. I'm sorry. I still enjoy your book.
Greg, go on vacation. Yeah. Greg.
Yeah. Sometimes I think Greg doesn't know how to relax. Greg. Yeah. But each family has this representative called a Lazarus. And as Lazarus suggests, this person is like the point of the spear, right? If there's arguments between families, sometimes these Lazari will fight each other, or they'll engage in argument, some sort of conflict or whatever. And some of the Lazari are like hyper smart. Some of them are like super strong. Like, different ones have different strengths. But the main Lazarus we follow, good God, it's been so long. I believe her name is Forever. I might be confusing her with Eternity, but I think it's Forever. Gosh, this is so bad.
Those are both names that a Kardashian would name their child.
It's over.
In any way, like, they're nigh unkillable, and it is. I'll just say this: the world building in this book I have never seen in any other book. Nothing else I've read has come close to the insane amount of world building and research that has gone into this book. So check it out. It's amazing. Greg Rucka, I don't know if I've ever seen him miss. I don't know. I don't think it's happened. It's certainly nothing I've ever read. You got Michael Lark on art. Absolutely amazing. Beyond that, I'll say this. Zach already did an amazing job. He summarized the book. He didn't spoil anything. He got right around all of the salient points about it. I'm going to not do any of those things and probably ruin the book. We'll see. So I'm going to cover the
4 issues.
Yeah, I'm going to cover the things. There's only so much damage to be done. This is true.
It's from 1991.
We'll see. You may change your mind.
Spoilers for a 30-year-old comic.
Yeah, exactly. Spoilers for exactly.
That nobody's read except for Zach and Nick.
We are the only two. Rebellion Publishing, you're welcome. You got both of our hard-earned money, or at least you got mine. Maybe Zach. Sounds like Zach already paid you at some point. Yeah. So a couple things. Zachary hit on this. This is from Epic, which is basically, from what I understood, Epic was basically Marvel's counterpoint to Vertigo in terms of being creator driven, in terms of not being limited by the comics code. Basically ran around the exact same time, which that was a big sigh of relief for me, because when I was like, oh, it's the guys that did Dread. Oh, it's post-apocalyptic America. Oh, how is this going to work with Marvel's like PG-13 general vibe? Because I don't really see that clicking, especially when you realize, Wagner and Scott So Scott, yeah, Wagner and Grant. Wagner and Grant have spent a lot of their time doing Judge Dredd, which most of which is not going to fit in the comics code. So when I heard that they were with this imprint, I was like, okay, like they're not going to have one arm tied behind their back, having to fulfill Marvel's playbook of like what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. I did find it really interesting that apparently this book was one of Wagner and Grant had like a 10-year working relationship at the point that they did this book, and like this book basically broke that apart.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was this
drama,
this book, and at the same time they were doing a Judge Dredd story where the two of the writers got into this argument at the end because Judge Dredd confronted this young criminal. And Wagner was like, we need to make Dredd more of a hero. And so like he'll let him go. And Grant was like, look, Judge Dredd is pretty much already to this point, while being satirized, he's a villain, all right? He's going to shoot the guy in the back of the head. They argued about this so much, and Wagner won, and that like basically like severed their working relationship. Like they were still friends, but they did not like apparently have not they did not work together again after that, which is like fascinating. Apparently,
I mean, good for them for figuring out where it's like they're friends or at least civil to one another, but they just both recognize like, I don't know if we can align on the vision creatively here.
Yeah. So I thought that was like,
that's maturity.
Fascinating. Yeah.
I think like this book, The Last American, they each wrote 2 issues of, because by that point they just couldn't actually write together anymore. So they just had to write apart. They was like, you write 2, I'll write 2. We're done.
Which is also really fascinating because they didn't even do alternating issues. So like the front is written by Wagner and the back is written by Grant. And like when you knowing that going into reading it, it's kind of like fascinating to sort of be like, all right, so this guy got to start it, but this guy got to have the last word. Like, how does that make me think about how the two of them, were as writers? So that was, a big thing that I thought was kind of fascinating. I did like that the robots, sort of ahead of their time, were doing the Bumblebee thing where it's like, Bumblebee doesn't want to, or whatever. Guys, I don't even know enough about fucking Transformers, right?
Are you talking about the films? Are you talking about how Bumblebee doesn't vocalize but uses the radio?
Right. So
the film version of Bumblebee, folks. The Michael Bay film version, just so
the real version of Transformers, right? So these robots have now spent like 2 decades waiting for Ulysses to wake up, right? And they've been sitting in this this bunker, and this bunker is also preserving like terabytes and terabytes of like American media. So it's a repository of commercials and I think films and music. And so they frequently, like, trying to relate to Ulysses, end up like dropping all of these different things. So like when they first go on their big quest and they all, get in the car, Charlie sings, roll up for the mystery tour, which of course is a, magical mystery tour reference from the Beatles. And, it does other things like that, which is kind of like, I found that kind of a, sort of amusing in some ways that's how they choose to relate to him.
As well as you're fluent in late 20th century media, pop culture.
Right. Like it kind of turns it into a little of like a Family Guy thing where it's like, did you get that? Did you get that? Did you get that? But thankfully it's not incessant to a point where it's like annoying. Anything else really interesting?
What did you think about the theme, Nick? The post-apocalyptic theme?
It is unapologetically dark, and I did write in my own notes that I think they even sort of addressed this at one point in terms of like the idea that the narrative trajectory, that what they're giving you is different from the narrative trajectory I think an American audience would expect from this book. When Pilgrim is like given this giant task from the president, right, and he puts him in charge of this, and he says, "You're the last man standing," et cetera, et cetera. Pilgrim says, and I'm supposed to walk in and save the day. The Lone Ranger, the last American superhero. Well, screw you, Mr. President. You and your comic book fantasies. It doesn't work that way. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Meta.
So clearly, like they know that this is not how an American narrative would work. It's not certainly how I think a conventional American heroic narrative would end. That's for sure. and they're very unapologetic about the fact that the ending is at best hesitantly, faintly optimistic, which I suppose is what you're going to be if you've lived in England your whole life. It's not going to be anything but that.
Oh my
God. Shots fired across the
pond.
pond.
All our British listeners.
But yeah, I also will say this, and I say this so much on the show that I realize this has no credit at this point, but this art is not for everyone. And I really, God help me, I really mean it with this book. It is...
Okay, did you like it?
I liked it, but that's because I have taste, and...
Nick.
Nick is just trying to make everyone love him on this episode.
Like,
Nick, is it detailed? Is it sketchy?
Here's what I wrote in my notes
like,
as
what
I
are we
tried
going
to
for?
get this. I said, the characters' faces resemble if Picasso had taken an angular style of doing collages in which the eyes, the sideburns, the eyebrows, they each feel like they're their own horizontal layer of paper that's been stretched across and onto the face. And if you see it, that will make sense.
That's dead on. Yeah.
That's a beautiful description, actually. That's like probably the most ornate description we've had on this podcast for aesthetics.
It's so hard. I would love to know his process, because it almost feels like when you see the row for the eyes and the row for the mouth and the row for the sideburns, there's almost like these horizontal lines around them, almost like he was like blocking out where they would be, and then he didn't erase the blocking lines, like they're still there.
Okay.
It's really, I like it. I think it sort of adds a I think it fits the narrative. I think this idea that the future, and this makes sense, it's in line with Dread, right? It's the future is an ugly place, and it's populated by sort of brutish, ugly, sort of weirdly human, but also weirdly not human kind of folks. Even though he is the only person, right? There are plenty of flashbacks that involve his family, or the president, or there's a prolonged dream sequence where George Washington raps. I won't say any more, but that happens, and it's amazing. And it's this doesn't help, but I will say this, guys. Like, if you're out there and you're looking to buy this book, and you Google it and you see the reprint edition from 2017, the cover is still Mick McMahon's art. It's still his art, but his art has definitely changed and evolved, and that's not his fault. It does not look like his interior art at all, and it doesn't even look like his covers that he did for the original book. It looks more...
So he drew a new one in 2017.
He drew a new one,
cover.
and it's more broadly appealing, I would say. I still love it.
I mean, that makes sense. It was 30 years ago, so
exactly. Like the guy
could I throw something in on the art for kind of like playing off what you were saying, Nick? Because you're absolutely right about everything he said about the art. I completely agree with. And like a little thing that just kind of popped into my head as he was talking was that there are flashbacks to Pilgrim being, talking to the president and stuff like that, and the flashbacks look a lot cleaner. Like the faces and everything are a bit more clean, but then you see Pilgrim now, and even though he's been frozen for 20 years, it's like he was saying, it's got this crazy kind of Picasso thing going on where like there are literally lines breaking up sections of face. And maybe that's like a play on like the state of the world now. Like when he goes under, the world is still whole, but the world is completely broken now. Everything is destroyed by this nuclear apocalypse. And you can literally see it on the face of the one human left alive.
I like that interpretation.
Yeah,
I'll accept it.
It's also... I can't believe this book got made for like 18 billion million different reasons. The art is definitely one. The fact that it's at Marvel, even though it's an imprint, shocks me. When you realize it's 1991 and the dude is making fun of Ronald Reagan, like 2 or 3 years after he's president. Yeah, there is... I'll leave it at this because I think this walks the tightrope between being enticing people to read this and spoiling it. There is an extended insane in the membrane dream sequence that involves many people from American political history, and it is wild, and it is clearly meant to be clearly Alan and John have some thoughts about American politics, and I think a lot of it comes out right there.
Okay, so definitely pre-Disney Marvel in every possible way.
Again, like the fact that it's saying this in 91 when some of these people have like just been president within a decade preceding it is like wild. It's great. It's real. I still cannot believe this. If this had been published in 2000 AD, I'd say this would happen fine. The fact that this actually showed up with Marvel, crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I think it was the fact that these guys were kind of British rock stars and they wanted like unique voices to be on their Vertigo line, and they were like, do what you want. Like that's what I
no, that's completely like when you think about what the initial lineup was for like Vertigo, right? Where they, I think like, oh my God, I forgot who was on Hellblazer, but I think it was Jamie Delano. Someone's going to get real mad at me, but like, and obviously Grant Morrison, although I don't think he was part of the initial wave. Doesn't matter. But obviously there is this pressure to bring in a bunch of, like British and Scottish creators.
Right. This is so interesting because I also read this book.
Oh no.
No. I went a very different route.
Save us from our sadness, Kara.
So when I think I actually really struggled with this theme because when I think post-apocalyptic, I think The Walking Dead. And I was like, I've made it this far without reading that book more than a few cursory issues. I don't want to like actually go into that. And then I thought like, well, maybe Why the Last Man, but then I'd want to read all of it. And
same problem.
I ain't got time for that. So what I did do was log on to Hoopla and type apocalypse and filter by comic books. And lo, the very first thing that came up is very different from what you guys read. It's called The Scooby Apocalypse Volume 1. And it's Scooby-Doo and the gang, but the apocalypse is happening. So I cheated a little bit because it's not technically post-apocalyptic because we're joining them for the moment of the apocalypse happening. So we see them very briefly, like just before the apocalypse. And this was such a weird book because, like, obviously you're taking the Scooby-Doo characters and putting them into like a grittier situation. They all have slightly different characters. They don't all know each other yet. You've got Velma as a very socially awkward scientist working in a literally underground lab in the desert just beneath this world's equivalent of Burning Man. You've got Daphne as a formerly investigative reporter, Fred as her cameraman / friend who's been in love with her since college and keeps proposing to her apparently. Like he apparently just like does it as a bit. And I'm like, this can't be healthy for either of them. If he's like so clearly in love with her and she's just like, no. There's boundaries here, which like good for her. And also, Fred, move on. It's not happening. She clearly has chemistry with Velma. Anyways, and then Shaggy is a dog trainer at this underground facility. And our beloved Scooby-Doo can talk because he's a like genetically enhanced dog that the military was breeding to be like a military dog. And he's got little like goggles that like help him like emote what he's feeling from dog to like person emoji, but he can also talk in his like rah like Scooby voice.
So I assumed that this was a classic Scooby Gang going into an apocalypse, but this is like a whole new take.
Yeah. It's like a new take. It's like and you're seeing like the inflection point of this apocalypse is that Velma's trying to like expose the work that she's been doing at this lab because she's like, yeah, we put all these nanites in the air to like calm the population down. And I'm just like, I've seen Firefly. I know where this goes. So it's like the nanites get activated while they're like in the bunker. So they're safe from the nanites, but when they come out, everybody's a monster. So you think like, oh, Scooby-Doo with a monster, but everyone's just a human wearing a rubber mask. But this is like everyone's actually morphed into monsters, and they've got like Daphne shooting people and then like having an emotional sobbing breakdown about the fact that she just killed people because it's not their fault that they're monsters. So it's like, it is not lighthearted, gang.
Okay.
But also like they're all using their catchphrases from the show. Like they're going zoinks and jinkies. And like, but like there's all this carnage happening. It's very like, the art style is more like B-roll superhero. Like it's like a generic superhero book kind of vibe going on. And I found the panels to be very cluttered. There's a lot of dialogue going on. I think the creative team was really excited to have figured out how to make all these characters exist in an apocalyptic world. So there's just like, here's some backstory. Here's more backstory. Here's how these relationships are going to work. Let's make a meta commentary on this catchphrase that we're using. And I'm like, no, stop it. Like, you put the Scooby Gang in an actual monster land. Like, let's just let it ride. So like, there's this one page where there's absolutely no dialogue because they're hiding from these like demon creatures in a Walmart, and they have to stay like so quiet and still so that they don't get found. So there's no dialogue on this whole page. And I'm like, this is good comics, because you're letting it breathe. I see the action, I feel the tension, and then it's like every other panel is just like cluttered with dialogue because they're bursting to get all their ideas out there. So it's like, ooh, it could be so fun, but I'm too busy concentrating on Velma sounding smart because you decided to give her paragraphs of text every time she opens her mouth. So I see the vision. I don't entirely agree with the execution. I don't know if I would necessarily continue. And that's partially because I don't know if y'all saw Scooby-Doo growing up, but when I was growing up in the 90s, Cartoon Network was playing like 4 different versions of Scooby-Doo reruns like every day. And so I saw quite a bit of it. And my least favorite character is Scrappy Doo.
Yeah.
And Scrappy Doo is one of the genetically modified dogs in this lab. And he is like, even as like an aggro, like tiny alpha dog who has it out for Scooby-Doo because Scooby-Doo's like too weak for being nice or whatever, I'm just like, God, you're insufferable. Like in every format of media, you're so insufferable. So just knowing that there's more Scrappy Doo, if I continue, I'm like, I don't know, gang. I think I may just like leave this one in the nostalgic past. And
Scrappy ruined it for you.
It just, I mean, it was fine. If you like Scooby-Doo, you will probably find something to like here. But I was just kind of like, who's the audience for this? When you're reading a comic and you're just like, I understand why you wrote this because you really wanted to write this, and that's beautiful. But also, like, who was the audience for this? There was clearly an audience because they got at least 12 issues out of it from what I could see. But I don't know. I guess the audience is people in their 30s who grew up on Scooby-Doo and want to have something a little meatier in their media consumption.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought this got a sequel, but maybe I'm also confusing the fact that it got a sequel with the fact that it got 12 issues, and maybe I was thinking it had multiple arcs. I don't know. Maybe it was both. I think it was relatively popular, so I don't know.
So I guess there was a wide audience of people who wanted Scooby-Doo, not just doing the same formulaic stuff.
It is weird. Sometimes you see DC, certain years, they like really lean into the Hanna-Barbera stuff a lot, and other years, like, it's like not there at all.
Oh, that's right, because they have that property now. I keep blanking on that.
Yeah,
like they had what's his name, Mark Russell, I think, that did that Flintstones comic, and that was amazing. And it kind of did the same thing, just like completely reimagined all the characters and made it a little more grown up, like with Fred and Barney being survivors of a nasty war where they basically genocided another kind of cave people and dealing with that. Like, yeah, it gets pretty crazy. But I wonder if was this the same era I can't rember what years that happened.
This was from 2016.
Okay. I think that was around the same time.
Yeah, I think this is also when Russell did the Snagglepuss Chronicles and got all of the awards and everything basically on the backs of that. So
all right.
Yeah.
Well, two very different books for our post-apocalyptic discussion. Well, as we like to wrap up these very special reading episodes, we like talking about what we're reading next. So, Nick, what is on the top of your pile this week?
So for me, it's got to be Dust for Dust, number 7. This is an 8-issue. God, I never know with 8. Do you call that a maxi? I feel like it's not long enough for a maxi. We'll just say it's a series. So Dust to Dust, Image series, 8 issues. 7th one is coming out. This is written by J.G. Jones and Phil Bram. J.G. Jones also does the art, and Jackie Marzin does the letters. If you don't know about J.G. Jones, in short, I would say Jones is probably best known for drawing Wanted with Mark Miller, which of course got turned into a movie with James McAvoy. And then from then, he's largely been known for doing cover work. So some might remember I brought up this book back in March when the first 3 issues were out. 8 months later, we're actually going to see the penultimate issue finally hit store shelves. Does this mean that this 8-issue book, is going to stretch across 3 different years? I think it does.
Don't know.
That said, like, have you seen J.G. Jones's art? Like, have you? Like, he doesn't roll that shit out like it's a caricature at Six Flags, okay? Like, it's... I put it in the same camp as if Mike Mignola came back and said, guys, I'm going to do 8 issues of like a 35-page book, and I'm going to draw the whole thing. I think people would go fucking insane. People would go insane.
I would go insane.
And while obviously J.G. Jones is not on the same level as Mike Mignola in terms of just generally being well known, like J.G. Jones's artwork is on a detail level that I think also puts it in the same camp of like, oh my God, are you serious? Are you really going to do this? Look, I'm always partial to books that are set in eras that I think just don't get enough attention. And like the Great Depression for me is like one of those ones where it's like, okay, so there's the Grapes of Wrath, and then I don't know.
Mice and Men?
What's that?
Of Mice and Men.
Oh, did Steinbeck just go back to the well? Did that happen? Is that the same era? Was it really? Okay.
Maybe I'm just lumping all Steinbeck together.
So to be fair, I was like, oh, Rock Candy Mountain was in this era, the comic book by Kyle Starks, but apparently that's post World War II. I guess for me, if you're a boxcar riding hobo, it's the Great Depression. Apparently not always.
I mean, tail end of that was Superman and Batman, so.
Yeah. So, Dust to Dust, what is this? Takes place in 1935. It's a few years into the Great Depression. It's in Oklahoma. You've got a lot of farmers that are like, fuck it, I'm outie. I'm getting out of here. Packing up their car. You have this family named the Olsons. They're like, we're leaving, but they get trapped in the middle of one of these big dust storms, and someone or someone's sets the vehicle alight and kills the whole family in this grisly scene as they try to leave town. The sheriff has more than a couple people that are suspects. You've got the 2 guys in town, the Waldrop brothers, which basically the only thing they're known for is just generally being assholes. You've got the hotel owner who had basically been spotting Mr. Olson for money over the last year as his farm just wasn't doing well. And now he finds out Olson is just packing up and leaving, and the only thing he's going to leave is this unpaid mortgage. So he's not real happy about things. At the same time, I love this. They bring in like the WPA. There's a photojournalist named Sarah Grange. Meadows is trying to deal with the fact that like she's just there and she wants to take all these pictures. But she sees this opportunity to like do this photojournalism story about these murders and whatnot as the thing that's going to move her up in the world. And the mayor is like, fuck that. We're going to look really bad. We don't want that. Like, I don't want this lady going around and reporting on this. And not just because I don't want someone reporting. I really just don't like that it's a woman.
Rude.
Right. And so, but of course, like his big struggle is that, classic. It's a little cliche, guys, right? But like, obviously, the sheriff previously was in World War I, understandably has some major trauma associated with that.
Understandably.
And if that's not bad enough, like he's also like weighed over by this guilt of this girl that was lost under his watch as sheriff, possibly because he was drinking too much at the point. Yeah. So
Nick, is this a single issue or is this a book? This sounds like a book. This sounds like a novel. It sounds like a 3-hour film that would be Oscar bait.
So this is me talking about leading up to 7, right? Like I am very excited for 7. So I reread 1 through 6, and I mean, what helps, right? What helps is that it's like the issues are like 35 pages, so it's oversized issues. Yeah. Really, it's got like a great mystery to it, but it doesn't feel like it's the very like and no offense to people who love this, it's not the like I forget the term for it, but it's like the mansion mystery, right? Everybody has their own room, and then Poirot gathers everybody in the ballroom and says, I love that genre, I know, Nick. I figured you did. I figured you did. This feels much more lived in and organic, and not real Deus Ex Machina.
It's locked room.
Yeah.
So you've got more options,
right?
Because instead of knowing who all the players are, you don't know who all the players are,
right? And there's all of these weird, like I said, there's definitely people kind of waiting in the wings where it's the Great Depression, right? Everybody's desperate, everybody's down on their luck, everybody needs money or is mostly there's so many motivators going on, exactly, and I think that's what's perfect. Yeah. I think it's great. There's also some weird dude going out and about during the sandstorms in World War I army garb with a gas mask. No one knows why. No one knows what that's about. Some people think he's related to the crimes. Other people don't know. Yeah.
A mystery within the mystery.
It's just mysteries abound.
A B mystery.
And J.G. Jones's art is just, oh God, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's so good. It falls kind of close to the realism end of the like Alex Ross end of the aesthetic spectrum. It's not quite there. It still looks like someone actually took a pencil to paper. I guess that could be seen as a compliment or a slight. I don't know. But
depends on your preference. Depends on how you feel about photorealism.
Right. And it's all sepia tone. And I think what really helps, and I think what sets this apart from the work that I always fear when I'm not here to make friends, right? Kingdom Come for me feels like a bunch of still photographs in a book. It just feels so static.
I remember reading Kingdom Come and thinking, this is one of those books that I'm supposed to like.
Yep.
We're done here.
Right. And I think
it's okay.
And I think, again, like there's something to be said for watching a guy who's primarily a cover artist transition back or transition for the first time into interior pencils. Because I think there's that.
Sure. Kevin Wada.
Right. And Ross, same thing. There's that instinct, like everything needs to be a big gaudy splash page because you can do it. Like you're good at that. You're talented at that. Your splash pages are amazing. But sequential art demands that you do the smaller beats, that you do the small little rectangular squat little panels that are just helping give the illusion of motion to the book. And I feel like J.G. Jones gets that and delivers on that. And then the last thing he does that I want to bring up, and we've seen this in Black Magic. I don't think he obviously copied Nicholas Scott, but if you're going to copy someone, Nicholas Scott is an excellent person to copy.
Sure.
She used splashes of color. I think at Black Magic, they were exclusively for when magic was being used in the book, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So Jones also does that splash effect where maybe the front sign of the restaurant will be splashed in with color, or like the banker's lamp will suddenly have a splash of color. I don't really understand the logic behind what's getting splashes of color.
You probably will. It sounds like what they did with WandaVision, where they started introducing little blips of color in the earlier episodes, and then those became relevant as the story unfolded.
Yeah, so we'll see. But again, visually, amazing book. I cannot believe this guy who is just lights out cover artist every single week is doing an 8 issue oversized issue series. It just blows my mind.
Well, enjoy the gift while you have it.
Yeah.
I have something on the top of my pile that is very different.
Okay.
Partially because it's a number one, so I don't have an explanation of what it's about. Top of my pile is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Godzilla number one. So all I know about it is the title, and the title is all I need to know about it. But then while I looked at that, because I know I just said, like, I read this Scooby Apocalypse comic book and I don't really know who this audience is for. I know exactly who the TMNT Godzilla audience is. That audience is the people who just want to recapture the joy of playing with the toys in their toy box together. Today we're playing with all the lizard ones, like that's what this is. This is people. I'm so tired of crossovers.
This is the mutated lizard bucket, right? Like it's effectively exactly. Like if you are the mutated lizard
radioactive
audience, yeah.
radioactive, nuclear, like anything to do with radiation. If you were a reptile, you're in this bucket. But like obviously the scale of the turtles and Godzilla are completely different. And I'm so tired of crossovers. Like I'm susceptible to a good marketing campaign or like piece of merchandise or something. So the collaboration culture that we're in right now is like, I fall for it all the time. And also I'm mad about it because it's like, we are not doing the new thing. We are doing the thing that you love and using it to have you buy another thing and explore a different brand. I understand. And also why?
Nostalgia is one hell of a drug. Yeah.
It's very true. And I think with comic books, it continues to be less aggressive than with like merchandise brands doing like clothing or something like that. Because in comic books, there for decades has been that crossover appeal of like, I want to see my favorite heroes fighting each other. I want to see my favorite characters meeting one another. And there's like crossover episodes with like those Hanna-Barbera cartoons that we were talking about, like Scooby-Doo meets Batman and stuff. So it's like, but I'm just, because there's been so much of it recently in so many different areas, like I'm tired. And yet I want to read TMNT and Godzilla meeting one another because like, of course I want to read that. So
Kara, this is the problem. Also, I will perpetuate this problem.
And one of the big culprits of that is IDW.
Yes.
They sling the Ninja Turtles at everything they can.
Well,
Batman,
which, like,
and Daredevil.
fair. I don't want to be
totally, and I read most of it.
I don't want to be hyper apologist, but IDW has lucked themselves, and I think I've brought this up before on the show. They've lucked themselves into a really sweet deal right now because I think it's the 40th anniversary of the Turtles, and I think it's the 60th, 70th. Anniversary of Godzilla.
70 for Godzilla, I think.
So
that sounds right.
They're able to whore out both of these as much as they want.
Yeah, I just saw the return of Godzilla in the movie theaters because they brought it back in some places for part of the celebration.
And there's a new one coming out, the like 0-0, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, or it's -0. It's the same team that did the Godzilla -1. That was like pretty awesome.
I took my mom to see that one.
Yeah,
I took my mom to see that one in the theaters because I sold it to her as, but you love foreign films.
Oh God,
like,
Kara.
Kara. What? It's Japanese. It's Japanese. The whole thing is
that is
Japanese.
Also how Kara convinced her mom to go to Pokemon 2000. Several
you
years.
love foreign films.
It's like, just like Studio Ghibli, same country, right? It's based...
She knows who Godzilla is. I wasn't taking her in totally blind, but I was like, no, Mom, this is getting like really good reviews. Like, let's go see the monster movie.
I love that.
But that film was great though, because like I wasn't totally wrong, because you are watching a story about like dealing with like survivor's guilt in World War II, essentially.
Wait, are we still talking about Pokemon 2000?
Totally.
Okay.
Ash goes through a lot of stuff.
Oh, I mean, you send a 10-year-old out on his own to
hunt
win
monsters.
battles. Things are going to happen.
I mean, to be fair, Kara, like, I feel like, first off, there's been quite a few Godzilla crossovers this year. There's been quite a few TMNT crossovers. It's worked for IDW because, God help them, they just lost G.I. Joe and Transformers. And so they are, like, working,
doubling down.
This is what we got, guys. This is what we got. But I feel like the book you picked is probably the one I would be most willing to try. And I know the Naruto TMNT people are going to be mad and all the other ones, but like, yeah, I think this
happened too.
Yeah.
You're allowed to have an opinion.
I think it was Dan. I think Danny picked it last week. Yeah, it's a book. He covered it. Yeah.
All right.
So.
Well, Zach, what's on the top of your pile this week?
Well, I also went digging through the toy bin so that I could have random team ups, and I chose Gargoyles X Fantastic Four #1 from Dynamite and Marvel, written by Greg Weisman, art by George Cambadeas. I love Greg Weisman. George Cambadeas' art, I am hit or miss on. I like, it depends on the book. I don't know why. Like his art stays the same. I think it's the characters and the story, depending on that, I fluctuate. But from what I've seen of this, it looks pretty cool. It's his art kind of vibes with the Gargoyles TV show art from back in the day, like a very similar kind of style. I think it works. It also works for the Silverhawks comic, by the way, which is great. But this one is a total impulse buy for me. It's such an odd pairing that I need to see how it works, you know?
Sure.
Like I've never been a huge fan of Marvel's First Family, but I respect them and I enjoy the occasional fling on an FF book.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Gargoyles,
Zach diving into the Fantastic Four polycule.
But the Gargoyles, they were my jam. Like they were my jam as a kid. So give me that all day. Apparently this is happening in like an alternate world where the Gargoyles and Fantastic Four are just in the same world, which I appreciate because I am tired of the team ups having to find a way for like a dimensional portal to happen. You know what I mean? Like so often that's what has to happen. Like, well, how do they get into the same universe? Nah, we'll just do like they used to do with like Superman and Spider-Man. It's like, this is a separate universe where they all already are there. And that's cool with me. So apparently this book is like, it's an alternate world. The Gargoyles get invited to the Baxter building and this is the synopsis. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. So Disney's Stone Guardians meet Marvel's First Family. When the Manhattan Clan are invited on a tour of the world-famous Baxter Building, the high-tech home of the Fantastic Four, things quickly go from impressive to destructive when Cold Steel joins forces with the Dragon Man to unleash the terror that is Annihilus, trapping Franklin, Valeria, and Nash in the negative zone in the process. Now both of these heroic extended families, enchanted, stone, and superhuman alike, must team up in an all-out effort to save their children, their city, and their whole world from destruction. So yeah, give me that. Nice. That sounds fun.
So they're like, okay, they're both in New York City. They're both families. The contrast is the Gargoyles are probably, I'm guessing, more magic oriented.
Yeah, they were.
And the Fantastic Four are more science-y,
which is kind of a fun
genre mashup.
I like it. It really is. It's cool. It's like two families, magic, science, bring them together, hijinks ensue. I think it's going to be fun.
All right.
It's
like score 2 for the toy box.
Amen.
Honestly, Gargoyles within the last like 2 to 3 years has had just an insane resurgence. The fan base of Gargoyles fans, and I know a couple of them, it's like I feel like they've been waiting for years and years for anything, and it's like they're like, oh my god, I need all of it. And like I remember it as a kid,
like once,
but like you know,
I guess once Disney was like, oh, we have a streaming service and we have millennials who have money and they want more of the things. We have data to back up that they want more of the things. We can give them more of the things, right? Yeah.
And Gargoyles, for being a children's show, if you rewatch it holds up so well, and it's so well done.
And
in the same vein as like
a children's show.
Exactly.
all ages show.
Yeah, very much more in that vein. So like, I'm still waiting for a Gargoyles like live action film. I think that with the CGI we have today, that could be pretty badass.
I mean, I think I still
be
have...
careful what you wish for.
God. Zach, wasn't like the whole deal with them that like, what was it like? If they didn't make it back before morning, they would also turn to... There was some way in which you like inadvertently could turn to stone forever, right? Like there was...
at some point they introduced that. They had to... No, because sometimes they would wind up not getting back in time, and they would just have to hide somewhere so that Xanatos couldn't find them and just break them while they're asleep or stuff like that. But there was... I feel like there was something introduced at some point where it was like, you could be this forever.
Well, wasn't that the other issue? Is like, if you were frozen in stone, like if they broke your gargoyle, like you would die or whatever.
Yeah, you were dead.
Yeah, like
you're
that
dead.
shit scared the crap out of me when I was like a kid. And they're like, well, you're now a gargoyle, but if someone finds you, if the bad guy finds you and they break it, like that's it for you. I'm like, what the fuck?
There were real stakes in that show.
Real stakes.
Well, at the risk of all of us turning into stone, may I say thank you for your time today talking about comic books. Thank you to our fabulous listeners. If you're supporting us on Patreon, thank you so much for doing that. You get dozens, if not over 100 extra episodes that we've recorded just for you, plus show notes at certain tiers and a little extra bonus mini episodes that we record after some of our regular shows. Thank you to Zach and Nick for recording with me today. Thank you, Brian, for proof listening. Thank you, as always, to Zander for editing, and Mike for producing. And as always, comics are good, and so are you.